On Family Tree, on the landscape view, I want to look for other people who need ordinances to be done. On Options, I can click on that and make sure that my request for temple ordinances to show has been checked. My first priority is to do the temple work for my direct line ancestors. But then I also can do it for my cousins as well. I'm going to click on the Deerdorfs. I like to go back to about 1800. Now, as you can see, I come through one of Joseph's children, one of his grandchildren, one of his great-grandchildren, but Joseph has more descendants than just this one line. If I were to click on Joseph, click on his tree, it puts him in tree position now, where I was a moment ago, and I can use this landscape format to search for people who need temple ordinances. Here's one right here. I can click on that and request ordinances to be done. In this case, Wallace needs permission in order for me to do that ordinance because he was born more than 110 years ago. This being 2019, he would have to have been born before 1909 in order for that permission required not to show up. So if I know the relative of Wallace, I can click on Show Details and request permission. It tells me the 110-year policy that I need to get permission from one of these nearest relatives, a spouse, a parent, a child, or a sibling. If I know one of these relatives, I will contact them and ask for permission to take Wallace's name to the temple so he can receive these ordinances. The system first wants to know my email, my phone number, my relationship to this person, and I can say his grandfather is my 5th great-grandfather, Joseph Flickinger Deerdorf. The reason for this request, I want to do temple work for him. The name of the person giving permission for his or her relative, Susan Smith. Relationship to the deceased of the person giving permission. She is the child of Wallace. What is the contact information of the person giving permission? Susan Smith's email is this, or her phone, or her text number, or her address. I can put that there. I understand they don't automatically contact that person, but they use this in case they need to contact her. And then the button Submit will come up, and I will get an email within about 1 week that says approval has been given for you to do the temple work for Wallace Hygis. Please go to your temple reservation list and print that card and take that card to the temple as soon as possible. This landscape view is easy enough to use, but people would get confused. Did I click on the descendants here? Did I click on this tab of descendants? And did I click on this one? Or do I need to click back up here and search this one? So it was confusing to a lot of people. So they created a new format. Once my great-grandfather is in focus position in the tree, I can click on this tab and say I would like to look at the Descendancy view. Joseph Flickinger and his wife and his children, 2 generations load in. I can say I would like to look at 4 generations of Joseph's descendants. I understand they might be allowing us to click on 7 generations. For right now, we have 4. What I'm looking for is this green temple icon to see if anyone of my cousins or the descendants of my great-grandfather needs temple work to be done. I can bring this bar down, or I can use my roller. If it's this teal color, that means that it's in progress. Someone is working on that. If it's this yellow color, it means that more information is required in order to do the temple work for that person. The red exclamation points mean that there is some data problems or that a standardized information has not been submitted. Here is a green temple icon. I can click on that, and I can see that he needs to be sealed to his parents. Here is a green temple icon for Charles J. Baker. I can click on that, and it looks like he needs all of his temple work done. He cannot be sealed to his spouse yet without permission because she was born within the last 110 years. I'll either need to wait to do the sealing or find a relative to ask permission. So I'm going to say that I would like to request his ordinances to be done. It takes me through the church temple policies. Temple ordinances are sacred and should be treated with respect. Please reserve ordinances for individuals only if you are related to them. So the number one requirement is this person needs to be related to you. Who you can do temple work for. You can do it for your immediate family members, your direct line ancestors, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. You can do it for other lines besides your biological, your adoptive, foster, and on one other instruction page it said your step lines as well. Collateral lines are your cousins, aunts, and uncles, the descendants of your ancestors, who are your cousins and aunts and uncles. Your own descendants and possible ancestors. This means individuals who have a probable family relationship that cannot be verified because the records are inadequate, such as those who have the same last name and resided in the same small geographic area as your known ancestors. So for instance, if I had a record or found a record of a Deerdorf and he was from York County, I know that my mother's Deerdorf line came from York County. Even if I cannot find a connection, I can go ahead and do that temple work for that person. It says I may not do it for famous people unless I've contacted Family Search so they can make sure I am a direct relative. For those names gathered from an unapproved extraction project, or I cannot do the temple work for Jewish Holocaust victims without more permission from more relatives. Also, it tells me that I must wait 1 year after the person is deceased for temple work to be done. And if the person was born within the last 110 years, you would need to get permission from one of their relatives. If I want to look at more terms of use, I can click here or look at the First Presidency's message. And I click Accept. Now that temple ordinance will be on my temple reserve list for me to print. When I'm searching for names in this manner, it doesn't matter whether I request males or females, just if I'm getting it from the Ordinance Ready list. Once I have examined all of the fourth generations down from Joseph Flickinger, I'm welcome to open up anything that is pointing to the right. After opening these up manually and checking out everyone, I also have the opportunity of coming to the top and expanding back one generation and click on Samuel Deerdorf. It loads 2 generations. I can say I would like it to load 4. And because of that, I will have more to open up to the right in order to see if any temple work needs to be done. That's where it would come in handy if they had more generations that would be loaded. By the way, if your Descendancy view does not look like this, it may be that you have portraits selected, which spreads your genealogy down the page and is larger to look at and sometimes more interesting if there are portraits to see there as well. Either way is fine, whichever you choose.